I didn't know you were pedigree dog.
There's just so many things.
I know.
I mean, Hetty,
You're bringing a new one to us, too.
found it because she goes in every month. They said we gave it
Hey,
to her.
did he get a Zoom link?
Okay, you've got water.
Yeah.
Do minimal talking. Don't cough. You all right? I mean, really, you don't need to be
I
here.
did, what did
Yeah, I
you
don't
know?
know what else
She's not here.
to do. It's
That's why
hyperlinked,
I
all we have to
started
do
the
is
stream, so.
put his cursor over it. You want me to send it to you? Text it to you?
So I just told him that you sent it, and he's doing this way.
Is this our audit?
Mr.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fight it, you don't have any people.
So Sue, if you find yourself lapping out of water bowls or something, it's probably an indication that this stuff.
I mean, the entire time I was with, you know, and I can't go around my sister. I just told her, no, you can't see me.
I'm sorry, Sue.
It's nice to see you.
She's in Chicago? No.
No, she's been given.
Is that clock slow? My clock says 5:50.
She's in Portland,
It is 5:60.
around here.
Okay.
You ready? Let me press record.
How my baby?
I was in Chicago.
Hold the gavel.
I know.
Moved to
Where's
Chicago.
your gavel?
That's the best part of this job.
Wait,
Here's
here's
one
one
of my Kayla. Have one with my name on it.
I need you
I
guys.
did my term
Oh, you-
internship in Chicago.
Oh, you did? I tried to hear more about it.
He promised me if I won election, I would get one with my name on
I'll
it.
tell you what, you do not want to.
He has not, he has not pinned it up yet.
I'll take it home and laser engrave it.
They tried.
That was awful.
I did time at
Pretty
Emmanuel.
brand one for you, something like that.
See, any nurse that's a burn unit
That
nurse,
is
they have
a-
my respect.
Because I,
right.
they birthed me, was part of
Good.
the care.
Mhm, yeah.
I mean, that's.
Recording in progress.
I'll be quiet now.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Declaration of potential conflict of interest. Kyle.
None.
Sue. Mike.
No, ma'am.
None for me. Recognition of the SEPRD Employee of the Month of November is Ms. Daphne Mejia Alvarez, who is not here. Did you have something written that you want me to read, or do you want me to say amazing things about Daphne?
No, I have something.
Because I can do either.
Yeah, why don't you just wing it, I guess. I'm not sure where it went.
Daphne started at the farmer's market as our interpreter. She performed amazingly, so much so that they hired her on to help continue with translating. I personally have worked with her at the school district. She is an amazing person who is just bubbly. She brings just a lot of warmth and knowledge to her position, and congratulations to Daphne.
I'd like to add to that.
Yeah.
I got to know Daphne on the Seaside Parks Advisory Committee, and she is a really avid go-getter, and I think she's valuable. I'm glad to see her on our staff.
Yeah. So thank you, Daphne. Moving on, public comment. Nobody present. Marty, do you want to offer public comment?
Marty, are you there? Do you want to offer public
Yes,
comment?
I am. Yes, I am.
All right, let me start your 3-minute timer, and then you'll be good to go.
Okay. Once again, I am reiterating the importance of front desk coverage. Back on November the 13th, it was a Monday, the front desk was uncovered. It was left, I don't know for how long, but there was nobody at the front desk, and Darren went next door. I believe you're calling it now the West Wing. Darren went next door to the West Wing to search out Holly. I was leaving the pool, so I left. I don't know how long she was gone. But I get an email from Skylar, and it says, it appears that our staff person just stepped over to the West Wing to get some information. footage reflected that. I asked to see the footage. He said I was not privy to that footage. He goes on to say, and this is Skylar, Marty, we have heard your perspective and will continue to work on improving in this area. Your voice and perspective are appreciated. Nothing to do with my perspective. This is a very, very, I think, a serious issue. And to work on improving in this area, there's no room to work on improving. There must be a protocol that has to be followed. I don't know what that protocol is. I've never asked to see it. But I wonder, would I be able to see what the protocol is when a person needs to leave the front desk for any reason? Okay, nobody's answering me, so who knows? But doesn't surprise me that I'm not getting an answer either. Anyway, nothing to do with my perspective and nothing to do with continuing to work on improving. The area needs to be covered. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. We already had one intruder a year or two ago who only stole Pat Lehman's wallet. And I don't make light of that because several $100s were in that wallet along with her credit card. But fortunately, it was only the wallet that was stolen and hurt, and the money was spent, but, you know, that could be replaced. So, again, I ask that the board take this matter seriously. It seems like you're kind of frivolous, like la-di-da about it, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. And if Darren is there, Darren, I want to thank you for being so professional and getting back to me right away to let me know when the meeting was going to be. I heard back from you right away. It was several days before I heard back from you, Catherine. I did eventually hear back from you, but it took a while. Anyway, again, front desk coverage needs to be a serious matter. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. Thank you very much.
Any other public comments? Nobody else present? Correspondence? I didn't see any in the packet.
Correct. We do have a piece of correspondence related to financials, but that will be later.
Yeah. Audit report from Rick, from Kernan Thompson.
Hey. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to the meeting, and thank you for choosing us as your auditors. I believe maybe that's what Skylar is passing out the audit reports now, or?
Nope, you're good. You're good, Lauren.
Anybody? Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
Bonnie, did you want to offer public comment?
Did I?
Did you want to?
I might by the time I'm done listening.
Sorry, Rick. Skylar's going to make it blow you up on our TV here.
Oh.
So we can see it. You're
Geez.
Hold on. There we go.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, go for it.
Okay. So, what I'll do is I will share my screen to present the audit report, if that's all right.
Sounds great. Let me, I think I got to enable that, so just 1 sec.
Oh, okay.
I don't see the financials on the agenda.
Review financials?
Okay, try now, Rick.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. All right, can you see the screen as I move up the first page of the audit report?
Yep.
Oh, good, okay. Well, this is the audit packet for the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District as of the year ended June 30, 2023. So I'm just going to scroll past the table of contents here to the main event here. This is the report card, the independent auditor's report. Right at the top, report on audited financial statements where it says opinions. We've audited the company's financial statements of the governmental activities in each major fund of the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District as of for the year ended June 30th, 2023, which includes statements and all the related notes that accompany this packet. In our opinion, the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, respective financial position of the governmental activities in each major fund. the Sunset Empire Park Recreation District.
Hey, Rick, hang on one second. Sorry.
Okay.
There's some repeating,
Yeah, hang on one second. We're just making sure we're all squared away. So on the packet that I just gave you, that's where he's reading from.
Yeah, I'm reading from page 1.
Okay.
I don't know.
Can
If you had closed captions, it'd be great.
I know Zoom has.
Okay.
Do we actually have that?
I don't think Zoom has, if we want to watch it back on YouTube, you can watch.
I could keep your mind down here.
No, Rick, you're fine. It wasn't, we have, we needed you to be louder, actually.
Oh.
Now it doesn't help if it's distorted.
It's
It
clear.
has to be quality sound. But,
Okay.
Anything would help right now.
Well,
Mike, do you want to sit closer?
I can.
Why don't we do that?
Let's
Is
do
that
that.
better?
he's gonna move a little closer and we'll see.
You want to check here?
Oh, you want a chair on this one?
Yeah. Mike, we'll put you front and center, sorry.
You're good.
Sorry, Rick, we're shuffling.
Gotta love technology.
Yeah.
I think next year you have to be here, Rick.
Okay, I have to be. That's it. I apologize, I had 2 other meetings today, I couldn't line it up very well. Okay. All right, so you can see the independent auditor's report right here.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not working.
Okay.
I don't know how to get it to go. Darren's got a magic person.
Okay, so the gist of the report is basically that these financial statements are fairly stated, based on our audit. That's the first couple paragraphs of the report. That means that the numbers are appropriately classified and reported in the statements. They're recorded in the right period. The captions are appropriate for a fair presentation of financial information. And the notes that accompany the statements are complete and accurate to provide the financial information as of before the year ended, according to our audit. So we based our audit on performing procedures in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards in the United States. And that requires us to have certain responsibilities to be independent, to collect evidence, to support our opinion and perform other procedures, basically enable us to express this opinion. Management's responsible for the financial statements themselves. Management's responsible for the numbers and the notes and everything else, the content. Our job is to audit that and verify that, yes, these are correct and accurate. That's really what the independent auditor's report talks about, as far as the responsibilities. And, as part of these responsibilities, we have to exercise professional judgment, maintain professional skepticism. We obtain an understanding of internal control to plan the audit. We evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies and significant estimates. And we conclude whether or not there are conditions that, if you consider it in aggregate, raise any doubt about the district's ability to continue as a going concern. I'm happy to report that we have no such doubts. The required supplementary information has to do with the management's discussion and analysis and the general fund schedule, budget and comparison schedule. And then there's some additional supplementary information that we report on. That's basically the other components of the district's accounting system, the SRC and the Broadway ball field. Those are accounted for separately in separate funds for budgetary purposes. As a whole, they're basically everything's accounted for as one operating unit. So basically, our audit covers those schedules also that are included within here. Well, that's part of the report. At the end of the report is a report on the compliance with Oregon minimum standards. So in Oregon, auditors are required to apply certain procedures over compliance, things like, are your bank accounts in proper, depositories approved by the state treasury? Are you using appropriate procurement policies? Do you have adequate insurance in place? Things of that nature. So we do those procedures as well, and I'm happy to report we have no findings on that. The financial statements that follow, the first part is this management's discussion and analysis, and it gives some highlights, kind of what happened during the year. So there's, assets that exceed liabilities at the close of the year. That's basically the equity or net position by about $2.6 million. During the year, the combined ending fund balances were $1.5 million. The difference between the two is that the government-wide financial statements include the fixed assets and related debts. The governmental fund financial statements treat those things as expenditures and resources, so the balance sheet is a little bit different. But in both cases, it's a good, strong, healthy balance sheet. And the total debt, basically for the Sunset Recreation Center purchased a couple years ago is $2.2 million, and it's being amortized according to the payments appropriately. And then just scrolling down here to this summary of the overall financial analysis, so you can kind of see the 2 years presented together. It's a real, highly, high-level summary. Basically, total assets decreased a little bit from about 5.2 million to 5.3 million to about 5.1 million. Liabilities decreased from about 2.6 million to 2.5 million, and the net position decreased about $100,000. So, and that's not unusual, given that you're still kind of coming a little bit out of the COVID recovery. There was improvements in the revenues and expenditures for the year. As you see on this next page, you'll see the comparison of revenues and expenditures year over year. You had more revenues in 2023 altogether. They're 3.3 million versus 2.8 million. Your expenses also increased about 3.4 million. So your change, you had more expenses than revenues by about $96,000. Compared to the prior year was quite a bit bigger operating loss, if you will, that reduced net positions. So it's kind of catching up. And then the rest of this, the highlights talk about, what makes up your fixed assets and the outstanding debt that we kind of talked about. The bulk of your assets have to do with the buildings, pools, and improvements, some equipment there, and then you have basically one debt instrument, the note payable on the SRC. What follows this are the basic financial statements. The statement of net position. So this is the balance sheet, and it's not as summarized as what I showed you before. And it presents, shows you what the cash position is, and the depreciable assets, and the other parts of the assets. And then the liabilities. Of course, the biggest part of the liability has to do with, it says non-current liabilities due within 1 year and due in more than 1 year. The due within 1 year is the current portion of the debt, the next principal payment that's due within the coming year. Required to be shown separately, and then the rest of the remaining debt. And then the net position shows the breakdown of what makes up the equity of the district. Primarily unrestricted. There's a component of it that is basically your net investment in the capital assets. So the cost of capital assets over the amount of debt against it. The statement of activities gives you an idea by program. The expenses and the charges for services, and then your other revenues. So you have basically two main revenue streams: your charges for services for the various aquatic recreation and community programs and youth programs, and then the bulk of the revenue comes from property and public service taxes. So a little over $2 million there. And so the difference between that basically makes up the revenue and expense categories. The next statements are the governmental fund presentation of the balance sheet. And again, the main difference here is in assets does not include the capital assets, and liabilities does not include the long-term debt, because on a governmental basis, those things are considered, the assets are considered already expended, and the debt is considered already a resource coming in, and the net of which is netted into fund balance. The page following that kind of gives a reconciliation of the fund balance to the net position. And as you can see here, the differences are the net asset, the net depreciable capital assets, and then the long-term debt. The governmental fund revenues, there's a revenue expense statement also that kind of goes along the same lines, and then a reconciliation there. What follows from that are what we call the notes to the financial statements. There really hasn't been any changes in the requirements for what the note disclosures are. It describes a reporting entity, the basis of accounting, excuse me, the funds that you use. You have a general fund, a capital improvement fund, a Broadway Field Fund, and the Sunset Recreation Center Fund, and how those activities are accounted for. What constitute cash and cash equivalents, investments, receivables, and capital assets. So there's a lot of good information in here, especially if you're a lender or a bonder, funder, or something like that. And a breakdown of your cash equivalents. So without going into too much detail, you do have some investments that are sitting in the foundation, which is considered a component of the district, and those investments are listed here. And then this is a recap of what makes up the capital assets, the beginning balances, increases, decreases, and the depreciation thereon. You have a lease with the city of Seaside for $1 years, kind of a supplemental disclosure, and then the long-term liabilities, the activity from the beginning balance of the debt. You've got compensated absences are considered a long-term liability, so they're presented here as well. The reductions would be the principal payment on the debt and the changes in the compensated absences, and then that comes out. It shows what the beginning balance is and what to do within 1 year. And then here's a kind of a future requirement of the principal and interest on the long-term debt. The required supplementary information is basically what we call the budget to actual statement. So it shows the original budget, the final budget, the actual compared to that, and what the variances were. And we found the budgetary basically be in compliance, and the various other components of the funds. This is a summary of basically the property tax transactions and what's outstanding by year. And then this last part is what I referred to earlier, the compliance report, where we perform some additional procedures in accordance with Oregon minimum audit standards. And these are the things that we look at, and we express an opinion, and you're in compliance. So that's the audit report in a nutshell. There's also what we call our governance letter. This is kind of a summary to you, the board, and how the audit went, how did the audit go. It proceeded very well. Management, again, is responsible for financial statements. There were no new accounting policies or pronouncements adopted during the year. There weren't any required for the district. We had no difficulties in dealing with management or completing our audits. There were no what we call audit adjustments, misstatements. We did provide some accounting assistance, some reconciliations and computing depreciation, and then of course preparing the financial statements. And management takes responsibility for all that. We just provide the preparation. We had no disagreements with management. They provided us representations that we asked for. As far as we know, there weren't any disagreements where they decided to go get a second opinion from another CPA firm. And we apply limit procedures to the supplementary information and in the course of the year. So that's basically that. The other part of this letter is what we call the management representation letter. So this is what management provides to us, that they provided us all the information we need to do our audit. There's lots of little, representations in here that they said everything is real, honest, and true, if you will. The last thing I have here is basically it's just a suggestion. This is not this is what we call a management letter. If we have a suggestion or we want to, highlight something. In the years that we've been doing the audit, we've noticed that I think the previous accountant, or maybe years back, the way it was set up, there's a general fund. So everything's accounted for in the general fund and the audited financial statements. The different departments like the aquatic program, the community program, the youth program, the recreation program, special events, those are on formal reporting basis and for budgetary purposes, those are basically departments within the general fund. However, there's a couple funds that were set up separately, but they're really accounted for also like departments. And our suggestion, and that's the Broadway Field Fund and the Sunset Recreation Center. Our suggestion here is that you might want to consider just combining those also as departments within the general fund. It seems like it would be appropriate to do so. What part of the problem is there's always, with the way the accounting system works, there's always a lengthy reconciliation of the interfund balances, and maybe by combining these things as departments rather than separate funds, that would eliminate some of the difficulties that there are in reconciling this every year. And it also might make your budgeting process at the end of each year a little easier to account for it that way, rather than have to come up with like interfund transfers and budget those types of things. So our recommendation is just to consider, maybe combining these two within the general fund for both internal accounting and for budgetary purposes. Might make things a little bit easier. And again, we appreciated the courtesy and the responsiveness of Chris and Darren and Skylar and their staff, and the ability to perform our audit efficiently, and we appreciate that very much. Any questions? To share here.
I have a question. So,
Yes.
hi. So, my question has to do with the upheaval that was happening in Salem with the Secretary of State. Did that have any impact on anything related to this audit or the process that the state of Oregon requires?
As far as what that recommendation that we're making, or the audit in general?
Just the audit in general
The audit in general. So basically, what we have to do, what the district's required to do is once they have the audit, is to submit it to the audits division of the Secretary of State. They periodically they'll subject the audit to what they call a desk review, and sometimes they may come out to the CPA firm to make sure we're doing our job correctly. But you also have to report it to the Secretary of State because they assess a fee based on your annual expenditures. And then the audit becomes public record. They post it on their website under the municipal audit report search, so the public can see it, of course. So that's basically impact. So we, as a part of our service, once we complete the audit and obtain management's representation, we finalize our report here. We submit the audit on behalf of the district to the Secretary of State. So it's been submitted on time, and then there's a little fee that they pay in a form that's sent in. So it's all in compliance from that standpoint. Does that answer your question?
No, I just wondered if there was any upheaval caused by the events that occurred.
Shania Fagan, the Secretary of State.
I'm,
Yeah, I think those
I guess I'm not understanding what events have occurred that you're concerned about.
Well, her removal as Secretary of State.
Oh, the change in the Secretary of State?
Yeah, I just wondered if
that position doesn't affect the compliance. The order by statute still stand that, municipal entities are still are required to, conduct an audit and report the audit to the audit division of the Secretary of State. So that had no impact on our procedures or the audit.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Rick, so you made a recommendation to move the two funds, the Broadway Field and SRC fund, into the general fund. And then for the purposes of both external and internal accounting, but are you recommending that the Broadway Field and the SRC become departments within the general fund? Or are you eliminating
accounting purposes? That's my recommendation.
Become departments.
So they'll become departments, okay.
Yeah. unless there's, unless there's some statute or regulation that prevents that, the way those funds are set up, it would seem appropriate to do. It's something you could do. I had another client, Fort District, actually in a similar situation. They had multiple departments that they accounted for as separate funds, but as far as the actual reporting requirements, we had reported as one fund. So they changed their internal policies to treat those departments, those funds as departments within the general fund. Because of the way they were financed, they're still primarily through the property taxes and things of that nature. So that was kind of the reasoning for that.
Got it. Thank you.
I was wondering, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know we might discuss this further, but I was wondering, is there any method to our accounting right now for these funds being set up the way they are, these departments? I mean, because is it complicating our relationship with the school district and the IGA and payments of money or exchanges of money? Is there any reason that would impact that?
Well, and I was wondering about the SRC, did we set it up that way for anything to do with our financing for the building?
Well,
I don't believe that it would affect any of that.
Broadway Field.
Your financing's already in place. It shouldn't affect the way you make payments or your relationships with the school district or the city,
I can't speak to the field fund. I
That's
think
my
we
only
did the.
I mean, that would be, you'd want to investigate that further, but I'd be surprised if that had any effect on how you typically do business otherwise.
You have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it doing anything separately. Like when we get our payment from the school district, it's just a revenue. It's not an actual anything else. It's no different from aquatic revenue.
So you're comfortable with it?
Yeah, and then we also have that farther in, so we can even discuss it more in a few.
Yeah, that's included, Rick, in our meeting under new business. The board's gonna consider that change.
Okay, that's just a suggestion for you to consider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Rick, we were gonna share, it's not crucial, but on the first part of the document, it has the board of directors and their positions. And so, there's a change, or there's been a change for a little while. The board vice president is now Celeste Bodner, and the board secretary is Sue Coddington. So that, just for your records, or if there's a way to still edit this before it's final and sent off, I don't know if that matters that much, but,
well, it's been submitted. We could amend that and resubmit it to the state. Was that change effective as of June 30th? Or has it been, that's changed subsequent to?
It's been a little while. Yeah, it's been a little longer.
For 2 years.
So, but if it's not gonna impact it, but maybe for next year we'll get you an updated board list, or we can touch base on that, because you're right. There could be changes coming down the road.
Yes.
I don't know. No, I'm just saying, you never know. Goodness, I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
Which solid.
Okay.
Sorry about that. That was the list that we had.
Nope. No worries. Just letting you know.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Rick?
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much for your hard work and your time.
Well, thank you all too, and I hope you have a good meeting and a good holiday season. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye.
We are not doing the report from Strategies 360 tonight. We will pass that down to a further meeting because they requested that.
Can I just offer a tiny bit? So yeah, that's the firm that we're working with on some district goal number 2, if you'll remember. They had a contract to get some work done, and they are almost through with that contract. They're kind of finalizing some, a document that will serve as sort of a summary of their, of their experience, and then after that, we'll hear from them. They did maybe suggest, and I think it's worth considering, there's some really good momentum that they've created and information that they have to share with the board, and waiting until the January meeting, which is our next scheduled meeting, may not be in the board's best interest or in the momentum of the project. So, I want to put it out to you all if there's a way for us to maybe convene a special meeting just for this purpose. We wouldn't necessarily have to do the many other things that we cover, but just for this purpose. I know December gets quite busy, but maybe first week or second week of January, we could look for a time to do that. Does that sound?
I mean, as long as this was kind of the only thing on the meeting, I think we could squeeze it.
Yeah, and we could do the meeting completely electronic. That would save them. I mean, they're willing to come this way for sure. Actually excited about it, but they're more Portland-based than us. So maybe I'll try to hone in a couple of dates that work for them, first or second week of January, if that's agreeable with the board.
Yep.
That'll work for me.
Okay, thanks.
In person would be preferable.
Okay, I'll share that with them. I think, like I said, they would actually like to be here. Funny, one of the consultants that we've been working with, his last name is Chisholm. So, but he says he has no relation to any Seaside family ever. So.
But he knows that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Approval of board meeting minutes from September 26th and then also October 24th.
I will share, Board President Catherine shared some edits to the meeting minutes, which is great. And so she has edited an updated version, but there's a couple grammar things. And then I didn't know that she was absent at the last meeting, but it's been maybe one or two other things, but we've adjusted those. She was here in spirit.
Yeah.
And I did edit your go back and listen to your board comments, so thanks for providing that in the September meeting. Yep.
So were there just Scrivener's errors?
Yeah, it was like, at the end, it was.
If they're just minor grammatical stuff, I don't even know what they are.
I can tell you.
If there's anything that touches it.
Has instead of have.
The instead of the.
You're gonna get.
I was absent. We had a couple extra words and fire in a sentence, and then Skylar was getting a little Shakespearean with a the instead of the, and then at the end it says that I adjourned the meeting, but I was not here. I mean, I wished you would all go.
Incredible.
Should have
And
adjourned
especially if we had said,
Should have
oh yeah,
adjourned it a lot earlier.
I-
If you weren't here.
Yeah.
So I'll move the minutes with corrections.
Yeah, second. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All in favor signify aye, opposed nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue? Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Do you want me, I will sign the one that has my name on it, and then you want to.
I will have to get to the left to sign the other one.
Financials from October of 2023 and some correspondence from Umpqua Bank. So the correspondence I saw was that they wanted to give us extra money.
Not exactly.
That's how I read it.
That's how banks work.
Yeah, I used to work for a bank.
You'll recall that we had an error, and Chris had drafted a memo, and we shared it with the board in, I think, at the September or maybe the October meeting. But essentially that same error, I think for the same amount, was recreated or redone, and, at the same branch, it sounds like. So, it's been corrected, but, it's a little troubling. Chris is the one that discovered both of them, I think, right, Chris?
Yeah.
No, you discovered the more recent one, and let them know. But yeah, as I shared in the previous meeting when we talked about this, we are evaluating, our agreement, contract, service with the bank, and, I wouldn't say we're a free agent, but we're exploring other options that, might be better fits for the district right now. Because, these type of accounting errors are, yeah, they don't affect the bottom line, but they're significant because we have to have them, represented in the budget somewhere, and they're also, the fact that we were the ones that discovered them is not
That's not good.
particularly comfortable for us. So, kudos to Chris for having, good eyes on the financials and on the bank statements and things of that nature, but, yeah. Other than that, though, the financials are in good shape. We're a third of the way, roughly, through the year at the end of October. And, from my perspective, I think the financials are, like I said, fine shape. I shared with Kyle in a conversation last week that we are starting to receive heavier, revenue from taxes come in over the last few weeks. It's almost every, I don't know, couple of days now, seems like. Even today, we got one that was substantial, so that's nice that we've made it through, the period where we didn't necessarily have that. So kind of settling into the groove of non-summer but school year programming, I think has also been beneficial. The pool is very busy, so I think things are settling in kind of right where they need to be, and I don't have a lot of concern at this point early in the financial year.
Any questions? Go for it, Mike.
Oh, I just was curious. I've been thinking about our check signing registry with the bank, and I was just wondering if we were all up to date as board members for signing bank district checks.
I think it was, wasn't it just Sue? It's on there?
Was
Just me?
Well,
No,
I
no,
remember.
When Kyle came on.
We have a few staff that are, and it's a different system now because of the new software. We don't actually have physical signatures. We have electronic signatures that are printed on the checks automatically. But
Yes, I will say though, just because since Rick presented it, they, at least 2 signers have to sign the report though.
Yes.
So that way I can't just like print some checks and have their signatures on it. They still have to verify that those checks were written. They sign that off.
But it's not just my signature.
No, there's only 2, we have 2 preset signatures and you aren't one of them. But like
Okay.
if we had a disaster and the whole software was down, you would have the authority to sign a check if we had to do like a manual one.
Yeah,
It's just,
physical.
it's a backup.
On records with the bank, you're an
Yeah.
authorized signer.
Right, but I'm one of.
But I think,
Kyle,
Well, no, I'm
Kyle is
sure there's-
authorized?
We have
as far as board members, I believe Sue's the only.
only board member and then we have the rest are staff. So
Yeah.
don't worry, it doesn't rely just on you. You're good.
Yeah, I was just jumping.
You're good.
So Sue's still here, so I don't think you have to update.
Yeah,
I
let
guess
me
it's
tell
that
my
way.
son.
Sometimes we had to all re-sign in the past.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
we've had good stability, solid, as Catherine said.
Okay, just
So, Skylar, on the revenue side of the income statement, it seems like the total revenues of 501 are really low. Now, I recognize that the taxes haven't come in yet, and that's gonna lighten them up a little bit, but seems like, is there seasonality to user fees?
There can be, yeah, there can be. I think that stuff tends to, I think, even out over the course of the year. I would say we're probably light on the revenue side for the biggest reason is of course for taxes, as you mentioned, and then just other, like we haven't, we've only really had 2 months of kind of programming into our normal calendar year, right? In the summer, things are a little bit wonky. We don't have the full youth programs that we offer with preschool, after-school programs, those types of things. Our swim lesson program kind of, I wouldn't say it takes a break, but it looks a lot different, our aquatic programs in the summer. But once we get into that school year period, then it kind of settles in. We have swim team, we have swim lessons. So I think.
So there is seasonality. The school year
Well,
boosts the user fees.
and I should know this, was the shutdown?
The shutdown was in November.
November.
Well, in partially in October and November, yeah. So that does,
I mean, that's a week.
yeah.
But that wouldn't show up in here, yeah.
A week, it was a week of October and
October,
November, yeah. Chris, Darren, anything to add? I could be missing. Darren, you track those insurance memberships and payments. Is that pretty level throughout the year, or is there times of the year where it's a little more heavy than others?
Yeah, it really depends. You know, it's all really based on how many, you know, we get a lot of people signing up for the insurance benefit programs. It really depends on how many people turn up to actually participate, right? Because we get, here, let me run up here, Mike.
I can't hear you guys back there.
Yeah. I recognize that. So, yeah, folks, we get paid with the insurance benefits, but when folks turn up to participate, right? It's one thing to come in and sign up, it's another thing to actually turn up for the activity. We do get a payment every time they turn up. Generally, most of the programs will give us a full price of a pass after 4 visits. So we might get, you know, $5 a visit, but by the time they hit that 4th visit, then we get the full pass price for that. Just in the past week alone, I've received about 8 more sign-up sheets in my box. So people are starting to sign up more now for the insurance benefits. And then I know just before Thanksgiving, we had some folks that are over playing pickleball that realized, hey, wait a minute, why am I buying a pass? I can get this through my insurance. So we've really been trying to build that insurance benefit program. So yeah.
So what share of I'll call them user fees. What share of user fees come from those insurance policies?
Well, what percentage do you think they make up of the passes?
How big of a market is that for us?
Yeah, it's a really pretty substantial market. It probably at this point makes up about 50% of our passes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is. We serve an older population as our primary users.
Well,
so,
but those older populations are also making use of our resources and also making use of their insurance resources.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
For most of them, it's free. There are only a few products where a person actually has to pay. So you know, it's kind of things even available to the school district and through the Moda Insurance, so OEBD insurance.
So we advertise that? Hey, check
Yeah.
your insurance. You might be able to
We do.
play here for free.
It runs on the signboard out there.
Yeah, good.
It shows up in our program guide. So yeah, it does help a lot. Also, kind of in relation to what you were talking about in revenues, you know, really what we'll start seeing that tax revenue that makes up a really large portion of this, and that's why you see that low percentage. But also Sunset Recreation Center, we anticipate that additional revenue coming in to that through that property piece. So that'll also be a substantial boost to that percentage when that's finalized as well.
Sorry, I'm just gonna add one more. And the other part to remember, we haven't made our transfers yet either. So like if you look up building fund, that's gonna be that 156,000, and there's another transfer built into the SRC as well. So that does raise those percentages up. We usually wait till closer to that December, January
Make sure you have
period
the
once
money.
everything comes in.
Yeah.
So that does balance out pretty well.
So the building, the resources for the building fund come from the general fund?
So that's gonna be kind of resulting back into the portion that Rick was talking about, where you're kind of, it was built as a special revenue fund when realistically it doesn't really meet those qualifications anymore, neither fund. And the SRC could have been, you know, it's just a debt service fund, but it was built as a special revenue fund instead. So that's why now it's better to just combine them, and then you're not having to make transfers to make all your revenue. Because the way
So
it's
then
built, we would
this-
have to charge.
This building fund will disappear from.
No,
it.
building fund.
Building
will
fund actually
stay,
just needs to be,
because
it needs to be
it's
renamed,
essentially
it's actually the
capital
capital improvement fund, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the only, because that's the only, outside fund that would be staying.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everywhere you should have that additional capital fund.
And the same thing with the Broadway Field Fund.
That one would be going into the general fund as well, yeah. Just so that way we're not having to, because right now it looks like it kind of drains the money, when really it's, because it just has to come to the general fund.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, any other questions?
Question I have is, we did a motion to pass the financials,
We do.
but it will require a different motion to consolidate the.
We're not there
That's
yet.
gonna be a different.
We're not there yet. We're just doing
Okay, I just
financials.
noticed in the letter. Okay.
So we're just
Yeah.
approving the financials from
I
October.
move we approve the financials.
Thank you, Mike. Any second?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah?
What's the Tillamook County Creamery Association for $945?
Yeah, we, took advantage of some space and resources down there for a staff training. We took the management staff, 10 of us, down there for a day and did a full day of activities and training, and they served us some food. We also got to do a little fun thing with involving some ice cream flavors, and that was cool too. So a little work, a little teamwork, a little together time to help benefit the management team.
So management planning retreat.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, Mike.
It's a good question. Thank you, Sue.
What was that?
No, I'm sorry I interrupted your.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
All right.
Just,
Mike?
just one, curious question. It's really more about budgeting than it is about the statement here, but, where are we? 1971 through 60. So it looks like, where do I find taxes?
Are you looking at page 12?
I was.
That's the balance sheet.
I need the income statement because I need to know what we took in for taxes last year.
Well,
So we took in 2 million and change, 2,025,000 in taxes. And some of that is going to be taxes from previous years, which is about 45,000, I'm guessing, right? It's about half it maybe. So
Yeah.
so we're at about 1.98 for last year, and we actually budgeted less this year than we took in last year.
I know in the budget process, though, we did talk about the potential of timber tax going down. We weren't sure on that one.
Mhm.
So I think we were just trying to be a little
Be
bit more
conservative.
conservative. Yeah.
Yeah, habitat conservation plan is coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
It does look
Sorry, that's
decent right now. We did get an underpayment, so I'm hoping it'll continue and will be better than we thought.
I don't think it's gonna impact us.
Us never knows.
I'd rather shoot low and
Exactly.
get high.
Well, but
Oh, shush. That's okay.
well, I think just because, the model for, estimating what our taxes are is just fine, as long as we know that model underpredicts what we're actually gonna get.
Yeah.
I don't mind as long as we all know that. And it could cause problems if we had a significant expense and couldn't spend the extra money, so sometime in the future. Can always do an extra that's all I have on the financials.
I'm very glad you're asking questions.
Not bad.
I'm okay with that.
Good.
All right, ready to make a motion? Try this again. No, we gotta start over because you guys all had questions. Make a motion.
I move that we approve the financials
Okay,
for October.
do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in
Aye.
favor, all in favor, signify aye, opposed nay. Kyle, Sue, Mike,
Aye.
aye. You just like messing with my,
Throw your timing off a little bit.
it does. All right, Zoe.
No, we have to, don't we have to vote on that motion to?
That's kind
No,
of late.
it's way down
It's just
here.
in the same section.
It is way down there? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry.
Zoe wants to go home.
I'll sit up here. You just tell me when to go.
Way down there.
Okay? Stand wherever you want. I suggest standing close to Mike.
Just make sure Mike can hear. Yeah.
Mike and the mic.
Okay.
New business, sure it is.
Sorry, just Zoe, if it's okay before you start. So everybody probably knows that Zoe has a few different hats. Tonight, she's just gonna focus on part of her duties, and she'll share more about them. She'll be back in the spring to talk more about events and the Seaside Farmers Market, which she also is overseeing and doing a great job. But just wanna make sure you guys know, if you can limit your questions, just to, no.
Thank you. I was going to, you saved me some trouble. So I'm Zoe Manhire. I'm the Events and Recreation Coordinator, and I get to talk about the amazing fitness and recreation services that we provide. Can you hear her? Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We can't do any magic without an amazing fitness and recreation team. This is my team. We have instructors here, we have a youth sports coach, we have a personal trainer, James Massa, and almost all of them are certified instructors or personal trainers or coaches, and many of them are certified in multiple things. So, including myself, we do have our goal, the board put this goal together, that all of our instructors need to be certified by a certain time. So I am proud to say that by the end of December, every fitness instructor and recreation professional or leader will be certified. So that's an accomplishment I'm proud of.
We have one here.
We have one here. Bonnie, in fact, Bonnie Cave, he's over here, he just got his Yoga Fit Level 1 certification to teach yoga. He's already a certified water fitness instructor, and he is working towards his 200-hour registered yoga teacher certification. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Sandy Klimt is also one of our aquatic fitness instructors. For 14 years, she has taught H2O fitness, and she will be retiring. We're going to have a celebration for her December 29th at 1:15 at Sunset Pool Lobby, and there'll be cookies and refreshments. And Sandy has been an amazing role model for our other fitness instructors, in that she was the first instructor that actually took her relationship with our patrons outside the water. So she started developing, like 14 years ago, 3 times a year she has parties at her home or at restaurants, and she has quite the following that go to the H2O Fit, and they all go to these parties. And some of our other fitness instructors, including Bonnie, has taken that kind of role and is doing the same with his students as well. So that is how we keep our patrons, is building relationships.
Arthritis, that's the same thing.
Hmm?
The arthritis class.
Yeah, the arthritis class, same thing. Aren't they kind of connected, her and Sandy?
No, that's Linda.
Okay,
Linda takes us, we
separately?
separate.
Okay, well, that's
And
awesome.
Sandy has her cupcakes.
Yep.
Awesome. So what's new this year? I have been working with Justin, and together we have been cross-training our staff in land, water, fitness, and recreation. So we have a lot of wonderful programs I'm going to show you, but we have obviously a small staff. So it is very beneficial to the district to cross-train all of our staff in the different departments so that we have, readily substitutes on hand at any moment to fill in when people are sick. So we can keep our programs going. We also started quarterly annual fitness in-service trainings, and that is so that we could bring updated and best practice fitness teaching strategies to our fitness staff to keep them the best that they can be, and also to keep our patrons safe. So we always cover safety and new ways of doing things. I also introduced inclusionary language and teaching practices. We're trying to, as the district, we're trying to be more inclusionary, more open, and more welcoming. And so during our trainings, we talk about how to talk to our patrons, how to teach in an inclusionary, welcoming way. We also, I already talked about how we updated all the certifications and trainings, and we're keeping track of that, making sure they're all updated. When I first came on in March, I evaluated all the programs, and I restructured some existing programs and added new fitness and recreation programs, changing some of the schedules around. It was a big hoo-ha, but everything worked out the way it should be. We got happy patrons. We got more people coming to the classes. I also introduced sponsorships to businesses, allowing the sponsors to come and sponsor some of our programs that need to be subsidized a little more. And that has been successful as well, particularly with our Start Smart. We now have a sponsor, the Cookie Jar, and they sponsor all 4 Start Smarts, in which we can get T-shirts or jerseys for these little guys with the Cookie Jar on it and our district logo, and each kid at Start Smart gets to go home with a little jersey, which makes them happy and helps us support the program. We've increased community outreach and fitness and recreation programs with partnerships and contracts with Northwest Senior and Disability Services, with grants through NRPA and programs with Arthritis Foundation. We've increased active adult sports and recreation. We've increased the hours with pickleball and our adult basketball programming. We also have increased the studio hours for pottery in our adult community art recreation, so we allow them to stay a little later now. We have a lot of programming going on here in this building, in the Bob, and we allow them to stay if there is programming going on. And that has made a lot of potters very happy. We've increased the health and wellness and personal training programs. We have a new personal trainer, James Massa, and he'll be starting programming personal training in January. And we have some new wellness workshops also coming up in January. We continue to do the youth early learning sports program. That's that Start Smart program I'm talking about with 3 to 5-year-olds to prepare them for organized sports. And we've increased the school-age sports programs by providing a free youth basketball clinic for 9 to 15-year-olds. And that also is sponsored by the Cookie Jar, so allowing it to be free this year. And we're hoping to expand upon that in the summer. Okay.
Sally, one question, back to the credentials.
Oh,
So
okay.
do we have instructor
One more.
trainers in-house that we can provide that?
Well, right now we don't have a program where we are doing that. However, Kathleen is, as far as yoga, she is an actual instructor trainer. We just haven't utilized her yet. We have a little bit, like she has done some trainings with our staff, but not as a certification. But she is actually, through Yoga Alliance, able to certify our instructors, at least for yoga.
Awesome.
So, but right now we do not have a program where, like a water fitness. I would love to be able to get to that point to where I can become a a certifier for water fitness. I know Portland Parks and Recs and Alton Hills, I think they do that in-house, and it really does save a lot.
So do we have to send, our staff out somewhere to get that?
Well, right now, sometimes they have to go out, if we have programs like the AEA Aquatic Fitness, they sometimes will have like continuing education programs in Beaverton, and I'll send them, like recently, they all went and got some continuing education credits to be able to keep their certifications.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I have everyone do an online program now for the water fitness. I found one through the AEA and through the Arthritis
So
Foundation.
that's for the initial certification and
Uh-huh.
also for the refresher?
For the refreshers, they have the choice to do it online, but if they offer it in Portland, sometimes I'll send a group just because it's easier.
Yeah, okay.
Ultimately, I would love to be able to just do everything in-house, and keep, but we have to have, it goes through the steps. It's like our lifeguard certification.
Right.
We have to get the certification to be able to train certified lifeguards. So
Mhm.
similar things with our fitness
Right.
programs.
Are we certifying lifeguards?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
Lindsay
And Megan.
and Justin and Megan all have that
Oh, good.
ability.
Awesome.
So
Thank
like,
you.
our fitness services, right now we're doing aquatic fitness, land fitness, accessible and therapeutic fitness, personal training, wellness programs, and community outreach programs. And these are some of our aquatic programs.
That looks like Sue.
She's a regular in the
Oh, my
water.
God.
I encourage everyone to get in the water.
And I'm not in my blue suit,
I did
so
not
that's
get blue suit.
like
Sorry.
Cinderella.
Got your
Sorry.
water, got your water wings
She
on
might be
there.
in more than one picture.
She might be in more than one picture.
Right by her.
Bonnie's over here teaching our
I was
new
like-
Waste Away. This is a popular class that he has built up, focused on core strength and also
Look at my
resistance,
dark hair.
resistance training in the water. And he's built that class up from scratch. IT HIT is one of our new evening classes, so we're trying to introduce more evening classes so that we can get back to our pre-COVID program.
All these pictures are very flattering, so for everyone that's happy to be.
I'm sure they were appreciative of the person walking around the pool with a camera. What, did Marty comment on that?
We really have always strived to be, for all of our programming, to be accessible, right? That's one of our goals with the district, accessible programming. But these particular water programs are catered towards being accessible, being mindful, being therapeutic, being low impact. Yeah, there's Sue again. Being low impact, and there's Bonnie right here. Meditate. There's nothing better than meditating in the water. I recommend it for everyone. These are some of our land fitness programs. We've had a lot that are regular. I think they laugh more than they sweat in the sweat squad. Our new programming, again, going back to trying to have more afternoon and evening classes, getting back to that pre-COVID times. Our strength and conditioning class is led by James Massa, and that's our new personal trainer, and he is building that class up. Today we had 14 in his class.
Wow.
So, and that's a lot to fit in that little room, so hopefully we can get the SRC up and running so we can
Have more
expand,
classes.
have more room.
Yeah.
And again, with land, we also have accessible and therapeutic fitness geared towards that, making, having our chair yoga is fairly new from into last year, and that really made yoga accessible to a lot of people. Recreation services we have right now, we have adult sports and recreation, we have youth sports and recreation, outdoor recreation, community arts, and community outreach programs. I don't know why that.
Are those surfing classes?
Surf camps,
Camps?
yeah, which is like the same thing,
Mhm.
but in groups.
And they last for one day?
They're like day-long,
2 to 3 days.
day-long camps. These are a sample of our land, water sports, and outdoor recreation. Of course, some are seasonal, like the paddleboarding and canoeing and surf camps. Pickleball instruction, we brought on Meyer Freeman from Playful Pickleball, and he, once a week, leads instructions to new interests, new people who want to learn pickleball. Our pickleball drop-in program went from 2 days a week, and we've expanded it to 4 days a week, and it's been really successful. We have up to 36 people a day sometimes in that pickleball drop-in class. Our Start Smart Sports, 3 to 5 years old, is 4 times a year. Again, I offered it up for sponsors to help supplement, keep the program affordable for parents, and that has been successful this year with the cookie jar, thanks to the cookie jar. Our water volleyball is our drop-in sport in the pool, in the warm pool, and that's once a week, and that's a lot of fun. And our youth basketball clinics, that's what I was talking about that we started this year for 9 to 15 years old. We have a summer clinic and a fall clinic. It was free thanks to the cookie jar sponsoring it. But I was really happy to see up to 20 to 25 a day kids coming in this summer. Kids just coming in for 2 hours a day instead of being on the street. So I was really pleased with that program. And we hope to expand that one. Adult basketball is also 2 days a week. Moving on to community arts recreation, right now we have pottery studio, we have wheels, we have hand building, and then a couple times a year we do a racquet workshop. Health, wellness, and community outreach. We have we're expanding our personal training program starting in January. But during COVID, to keep our programs going, we contracted out with Living Fit Yoga for Zoom classes. We have continued that. It's been very popular and successful. There are still a lot of people who are still nervous about coming back into the crowded rooms for programming or the small rooms for exercise. So that we still keep that going on, and it brings our programming into people's homes. Another one that brings our programming into people's homes is the Otago Fall Prevention Program. This is a contract with the Northwest Senior and Disability Services. They actually manage the program, but we manage the personal trainer. So this is Jillian, and she is going into people's homes doing personalized programming to help people prevent falling.
How does that work?
So it is.
Well, I mean, how are people willing to let somebody from the government into their house?
I know, right? So it's sourced through, the clientele is all sourced through Northwest Senior and Disability Services. They manage their clientele, and they tell our personal trainer where to go, when to evaluate, when to go do the training, and then she shows up. We manage her and pay her. They pay us to do that. Okay. So it is a great partnership because they don't want to deal with that component of it, but it gets our name, our shirt, and our people into people's homes, the most vulnerable people that need those services. So,
and often what will happen if you have a patient in the hospital that's been put into physical therapy, they'll get a reference to follow up with that.
Yeah, so it's kind of partnership, it all goes around.
Patchwork that works.
We did a huge fall study, and we could not get people to let firefighters into their homes to do an evaluation. They just didn't know.
Well, this comes medically, you have fallen, and we're going to help you.
Yeah, that was our.
So then,
those who had already fallen.
Yeah. Another fall prevention program is the Tai Chi Quan for Better Balance, and that is also a contract with Northwest Senior and Disability Service, and they paid for 3 of us instructors to get certified, Jennifer, me, and Kathleen. And Kathleen's going to be holding that program. It's a 2 12-week program starting in January, and that'll be held over here. Our Walk With Ease program started out as a grant with NRPA, and it is an Arthritis Foundation program, And now it's turned into one of our just regular programs because it was so loved by, and Sue also participated in that. They walk around the indoor track of the SRC. And so we already are seeing the future capabilities of what the SRC building could be used for.
I can't wait to restart that.
Yeah, it started today.
Yay. Well, I'm back.
Well, this yoga workshops, we're starting those in January, once a month, and Kathleen will be leading those. Those are similar to the ones we used to have years ago. They're once a month, and people really have been asking for those. So I'm excited to have those back. The diabetes prevention program is also contracted out with from Northwest Senior and Disability Services, and they pay for our instructors to get certified, and we'll be offering that program again. I used to teach it years ago, and we'll be offering that again probably in February. And then the Seaside School District, we're part of their wellness committee, and they contract out with us to do wellness classes, both recreation and fitness, one Wednesday of every month. First Wednesday of every month. We come up for their employees. For their employees. And here they're doing pottery, but sometimes they want a pool class, or sometimes they want a yoga class, or it just depends on what they're looking for to do. So those are the partnerships that we're doing, the outreach, and you can see that we're doing a lot of great stuff in our community, and we should be proud.
Proud of you.
Thanks. Oh yeah, looking ahead. Looking ahead, I thought it was done. Looking ahead. These are, based on, we had that community survey, I was going in there and looking what all the people were saying, and also based on just requests by our patrons, and also some of our staff who are interested in progressing into different forms of instruction. We would like to, looking ahead, we'd like to increase youth and adult sports someday. We'd like to offer adaptive recreation programming. We'd like to increase the community art programming. When we get access to the SRC, we can do so much more. We have so many more opportunities there. We'd like to, some of my staff are interested in becoming certified in aquatic therapy and rehab, so we'd like to get in. We have that beautiful warm water pool. We'd like to get into aquatic therapy and rehabilitation. Yes. We'd like to increase the personal training and health coaching, so really bringing some individualized, holistic health to our patrons, offerings to our patrons. We'd like to increase the outdoor and nature-based fitness and recreation. We have that beautiful field out there, we have the beach, and it's been beautiful summers. I'd love to do more outdoor fitness and recreation. And we'd like to increase community outreach. Pre-COVID, Jennifer would go around and teach arthritis classes in all the retirement homes. We haven't gone back. I would like to get back out there into the community, bringing fitness accessible to them. And I'd like to increase health, wellness, and nutrition programs. That's like we have the cooking classes and more opportunity for health lectures and just any health and wellness opportunities that come our way. I'd like to give it to our patrons. Does anyone have any questions?
Get all this stuff done.
Very cool, Shelley.
That's only one of her
I
hats.
know, we need three Zoes to do this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I have a great team, though. Our management team is the best, and they all help me do my job.
Zoe, you've done such a marvelous
There's a
job
lot.
over many, many years.
Thank you.
And you're just transition into one responsibility after another and do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. You're the
Zoe.
best.
Great job, all right.
It's good.
Here we go. Hey. Might work again.
I accept tips.
I knew where the financials, it was on here. Couldn't stop seeing it.
Okay. Moving right along. Old business. Occupancy update. Ready and go.
Yeah, so, on, this first item, letter A, items 1 and 2, I think, as I've kept you guys informed, we have good progress happening on both of these. Convergent, the contractor that we, secured for the, fire suppression system, has provided their, what's called a submittal booklet, which has all those specifications of the things that will be installed in the SRC, as well as their drawings. They've also, those drawings are being reviewed by Interface Engineering, who was the ones that helped us figure out what actually we needed. Thanks, Bonnie. Bye, Zoe.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, everybody.
Nice job.
The tentative plan is to submit for a permit for a project in the city in the next about week. And that process to get permitted will take about 3 weeks. But the goal is to start what they're calling mobilizing on January 2nd. And we're looking at a 4 to 5 week construction period with about a week for additional testing and inspections.
Will there be any closures during that time?
But the goal is to work around existing programming as much as possible. There may be some hiccups or brief interruptions, but we can't really shut the preschool down. We can move it around for a few hours here and there. We can make some accommodations. You guys probably know this from your experiences in life, but disrupting preschoolers' routines and kids' routines is not in the best interest of
Adults.
that work with that population. So, yeah, Mike.
I know contractually it would have an impact financially if some of the work could be done at night and avoid the preschool conflict altogether. I know that would probably be more costly.
Yeah, we have talked about that. I think it's an option that we could still consider. I think the building being so big, we can have them work in the parts of the building that we're not occupying and move programming around to those parts once the work has been done. And again, we have some other spaces available in the district inventory. We're hoping to really minimize the disruptions of programming. I think the biggest disruption will come when they need to test the system. That will be loud and probably obnoxious.
And it'll be a really stormy day, and there will be no going outside.
Do you think the work is as timely as it can be to facilitate the upcoming hearing with the Planning Commission about our occupancy permit? Do you think this will have a relationship to that?
I think it does have a relationship, but I think we're in the fact that we've made a lot of progress towards that, and we'll be able to say, yeah, the work actually started today or is starting right around the same time as we have the occupancy hearing. I think is good news for us, and from what we understand from the city and they've shared, you know, that this is a need, this is urgent, but they also understand that we're working as fast as we can, and we haven't really delayed out of our choice. We've hit hiccups and roadblocks, but they've been because of, you know, this is a large contract. This is something that we had to go out to public procurement for. We had to do this the right way, and so I think they're understanding of our position.
Helps that they're also a government agency. So.
Yes.
Kind of the Mike's point about working at night, could that be considered for the areas of the preschool, like when they get to that part?
It could
Maybe
be.
not the whole project is at night, but like, hey, this little piece.
Yeah, they're still working on their work schedule, but if they come back and say, hey, we really need 6 hours in each of those rooms, then I think we're going to have to say, okay, and we're going to have to either make some accommodations in our preschool, or we're going to have to say, you'll have to do that after
Or
4 p.m. or on the weekend, or on these days. They have our calendar. They know that there's some holiday days that were dark. In terms of preschool programming, they could come in and work, but yeah, like you said, I think having them work at night or on the weekends or on holidays is going to increase the
President's Day, gonna be in there somewhere.
Yes.
They should be.
And
able to
MLK
work-
Day.
Yeah, and MLK, the jobbers will still be working on this day.
Okay.
In terms of item 2, I again shared a brief update with you all over email. But yeah, we have confirmed that we'll be on the Planning Commission agenda on January 2nd at 6 p.m. I would love to have the board either be represented by all of the board or a couple of the board, but I think it's important for non-staff voices to be heard and non-contracted voices to be heard. We'll be fully represented by Chris from Klosh and by Brandon from SEA, as well as maybe a couple other folks. But in terms of providing some public comment or some public support for the project, for our efforts at the SRC, I think it's great to have maybe a representative from the board or a shared statement. We are going to try to encourage a few of our program participants that have been able to take advantage of the programs at the SRC, including pickleball and preschool programs and things of that nature, to also come and consider offering public comment. One of the hiccups that has come up since our submittal of information is a question from ODOT regarding traffic implications for the change of use. So working through that with Brandon from Scott Edwards Architecture, and that's not something that I anticipated being a concern, because I anticipated that there would be less traffic trips as opposed to when it was a full functioning middle school. But still kind of working through how ODOT is going to perceive this change. I think that's it for 1 and 2 as far as Broadway Field update. Actually, there hasn't been a lot of change from October. I did share that Celeste and I were able to meet with school district representatives, and we shared an updated IGA and our proposal again, and they worked through some of the questions that they had. I did get some correspondence back from them late today, but I haven't had a chance to review it. But we set a meeting date to review on December 13th, and so I'm hopeful that we're close to a signed agreement, and that meeting will help us finalize the agreement. Been able to participate. They've allowed SEPRD to have some representation, or at least visibility, on their CMGC. That's construction management general contractor selection process for the project at the softball field. And so I've been able to sit in with, there's been weekly meetings that I've been able to be a part of as they're firming up the timeline and the schedule for that part of the project. And it looks like there's going to be some preliminary work that's done prior to softball and baseball season starting at the end of February, but most of the work will be condensed to a very intense period from basically the end of May until the middle of August. And that does have some implications to the district in terms of farmers market and also what we're able to offer on Broadway Field. And I think that I'm glad that we're there advocating, but this is not an ideal situation for the district, for SEPRD, because of the ripple effects of this project are going to impact our programs. But we're trying to do our best to be a good partner, get this project done over the line, not impede it in any way, and we're going to work around the situation that we have. Met today with some of our staff to talk about alternative locations or scenarios, or just being as prepared as we can.
Are we envisioning the impact of the farmers market because they're going to be using that parking lot to stage?
Correct. They're going to be using that parking lot. That's going to be their entrance to the construction site. And we don't really want our farmers market population or vendors, you know, being near large trucks and construction projects. So, well, I think by the time we get closer to the market season, we'll have a better sense of how to best do that. But I mean, it's a tight site. It's going to be very tight once this is all done. It'll be beneficial for both parties, I think, once it's done. But this construction period is going to be, like I said, intense. That's when they will actually relocate the building, and that's also when they'll probably do the groundwork for the turf of the softball field, most of it. Mike?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I just wanted to backtrack up to the Broadway Field, the conditional use permit application and ODOT's concerns. Now, we have an impact with ODOT with the Broadway Field improvements with the softball field project too. And my understanding is there's a whole separate, that's a separate application by the school district applying for that. Won't that have an impact on this review for the conditional use permit or our occupation?
It could. I don't know if.
I mean, why don't we just get it all done at once?
Yeah.
Instead of, we may have two situations, but as far as the farmer's market goes, is it possible that we could temporarily move the farmer's market actually into Broadway Park, or actually move it on to Broadway Field? You don't need to drive anything into the ground. Why not just set it up right on the Broadway Field?
Sure. Park? Yeah, I think we're considering a few different options. I think for us, the market has grown exponentially, and we feel like one of the reasons why it's grown is because we've had a highway visible location, and we get a lot of we get a lot of market traffic because of that visible location. And maybe not every time, but the pattern of, hey, I saw this in Seaside, oh, I connected the dots, it's on Wednesdays, I'm here in Seaside, or I live nearby.
Yeah.
So moving it off of the highway where it's probably not going to be visible is something that I think would be a tougher pill to swallow. But it is a possibility. I think
Also,
safety, keeping things safe and stuff. But the good news is I think and we think that there's enough room in the parking lot to accommodate the construction traffic and the market.
I mean, last month, I think you indicated that the school district intended to start moving the Hirsch building sometime like next month, at least, or the end of this month, over the winter. Is that not the case?
It's my understanding that I think they're going to do what they're calling the groundwork for relocating the building, maybe pouring the new concrete pad and doing some of the other improvements that they can make in the winter months when weather and things are cooperative, but that they won't relocate the building until...
So they can actually pour the pad, which has cable heating in it, before they move the building onto it?
I think so. I mean, they know that it has heating. I'm leaving the really technical parts of the process to them. But yeah, it's very complicated.
A lot of times you have to just make progress where you can make progress.
Yeah.
And, don't let what you can't do get in the way of what you can do.
And there's a whole besides just the field and the building, the HFTF, there's a whole another batch of construction efforts that have to be made with the infrastructure for the field. Softball field needs dugouts and bleachers and lights and the netting system that is going to be installed. So there's a lot of things to kind of consider and lay out in a really process-efficient manner so that you're not going back and saying, oh, shoot, like we forgot about this part, right? And so that's why it's great that they've hired this qualified firm to be their CMGC. They have owner's representation, and I think, again, our position is that we really want to advocate for our programs and for the community at large, but also we need, and we have been able to be informed of the process.
Yeah. That's my question.
For the IGA, is the hang up on our side or their side?
That's a very black and white question, Board Chair. We have had I think we put a good faith effort into drafting an IGA with them in the spring of 2023, and I think for lots of different reasons, it's gone back and forth and sat at times. Oh, Gary, we lost Mr. Polly, or Miss Polly.
Okay. So,
It's coming back on now.
yeah.
I must have said something wrong.
It was my one question.
From my perspective, I think what we've put forward to them is an agreement that works for us, financially speaking, and is equitable and can be long-lasting. I haven't read their most recent concerns, but I think they're advocating for themselves, and we have two different positions, and we're trying to kind of come to terms on this important space.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, I got your email when I was in Chicago, so everything's on Chicago time.
Okay.
So, and I tried to change it and it was just foolhardy. So just confirm for me what time on the 2nd you need me there.
So the meeting is at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Yep. At City Hall,
January 2nd,
January
Yep,
2nd.
I'll be there.
It's a Tuesday.
I can be there.
In terms of letter C, the strategic plan update, happy to share that tomorrow, actually, representatives of the steering committee are going to look at 3 different recreation centers or facilities in the greater Portland area, one in Portland Parks and Rec inventory, one in Chehalem Park and Rec District, and then Cedar Hills Recreation Center. 2 of the 3 are converted schools, so I think that's really beneficial for the committee. This has been something that's been in the works for a while, but finally coming to fruition, so happy about that.
Scott, just on the side, I can't make it
Okay.
tomorrow,
All
sorry.
right, yeah, it's okay. I think we have a couple of staff and 3 or 4 community members that will be there, as well as our owner's rep, and so.
Who is your board connection?
So our board connection was Kyle and Celeste. Celeste is working out of the state right now. She's has a what should say, a board retreat this week for her job. And then Kyle was the other designee. And they've been involved in a bunch of the other steps. They're just not making it. And actually, I think for Celeste and I'm assuming maybe you've been in 1 or 2 of these facilities too.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen these, but it's good. The community members that we've selected haven't necessarily seen them. So
What time?
starts at 10 a.m. at the Mount Scott Aquatic Center.
Do
Say
you
that
need,
5 times fast.
do you need a board member to go?
If you want to. I mean, Sue, you just got home and you don't sound.
I don't want to go,
Yeah.
because I don't.
I think you're okay. We will take pictures. Myself and Levi are going from the staff perspective. And we will share back with the board, some of those experiences.
I mean, I'm supposed to pick up the dog in the morning.
Sounds like
They prefer
your
I
time
come
is
get the
spoken
dog,
for.
but
Well, just my concern, and you've heard me say this before, Skylar, but, buildings are not the strategy.
Right.
Buildings fulfill the strategy, or help fulfill the
Right.
strategy, but, it's just, when we have architects who are responsible for the
Recording stopped.
strategic plan, I don't want it to be a plan about what buildings.
Recording in progress.
What we do in the future, what we look like, who we are, that sort of stuff. Those are just
I appreciate that. I agree. I'm hoping that we don't go down that road too far, but that tomorrow is the day for conceptually ideas to kind of come to, we can see what a finished product looks like for this project and see how it ties in, knowing that each of these 3 entities has lots of other properties and amenities. How does it tie into their portfolio? How can SRC tie
And they
into
all
ours?
have strategic plans.
Yeah.
We can plagiarize whatever they.
well, I like the concept that 2 out of 3 were schools,
Yeah.
and look what we have. So the shoe fits.
Right.
Positive adaptation.
I grew up going to the Multnomah Recreation Center, which was an old
Elementary school.
school, and it is still a recreation
So,
center.
they don't call it a recreation, it's just called a moment center.
Yes.
They do a lot of,
I mean, I
arts
took,
and crafts,
yeah,
and music and
classes,
dancing,
all kinds
and,
of
yeah.
but
Really,
that was 40 years ago.
quite well done, they do a good job.
40.
Mm-hmm.
You were 3 when you were there?
That's it for my part of old business, unless there's other questions or thoughts.
Okay, new business, board action. Now we are modifying the budget. He's been waiting all night.
Want to make a motion there, Mike?
I thought it belonged up there in the financials. And it's new business, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
we didn't know exactly where to
It's
put it.
buried in
but-
there. Further discussion on that, I don't know, as long as that makes sense for the two of you.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
it
it's
makes
gonna be
sense
the
to
best
me.
way.
Staff thinks it's a good idea, I'm gonna go for it.
What do you think, Kyle? You have questions?
Well, thank you for that, comment, because, we got the recommendation from the auditor, but we didn't hear what staff wanted to do, so if staff is good with it, it really matters not to me.
I mean, I think it makes sense. I was just thinking back to when we bought that the reason we set it up was something to do with the funding, or the
That's
loan.
right.
Yeah, but
I think it was
that's-
intended to, and it just didn't happen
that
in the
wasn't-
right way.
Well, it's not our asset.
You would have had to set it up as a business.
Exactly, and it just never, it didn't make it that way.
Yeah, I want to say there was a sentiment in the board and the discussion at the time that we wanted to make sure that the public knew that purchasing the building wasn't impacting the general fund of the district. So setting it up that way showed that there was a barrier, even if it was imagined, that, the two weren't in the same pot, but in
They are.
essence,
Well, the Chinese wall between the two
Yeah.
funds.
But yeah, and then
Yeah.
what it now does, though, shows that we are doing it. So it's like, we ended up doing the opposite. by
Right.
having-
But we also, yeah, we
now it's like, oh.
we didn't have the experience at the time of knowing, like, what's the easiest way to do it.
Well, I think knowing the past and looking at the present and the concept that the future, they all agree, they all align, let's get it done.
So, I have two questions. One, is there a good or bad time to do this? Like, does this
It'll
make
be
it?
it would be start of the fiscal year. 'Cause
Okay.
You don't want to do it mid-year. You're gonna
Okay,
have
that's
to-
what, so, and then I was gonna be like, do we need to fix our, okay.
When we go through the budget process, it'll appear on the budget as a department, and
Okay.
that's what we'll be.
It'll just show up like youth programs or
Yeah.
something like that. yeah.
Exactly.
So, is this going to affect our ability to analyze any of the financial data?
It shouldn't. Yeah, it should
I'm
not.
good.
And even if it seemed like it would, between Darren and I, we could build something different to make sure it still reflects everything as it would. But I can't see any situation where it would.
Well, I mean, we get all our financial data on the department. It's just
Yeah,
gonna be
it's
a
gonna look-
department.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, some of that data they might use to price programs, to do some analytical stuff, and I just want to make sure you can still do that, but we really
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
we really don't charge out
Well, 'cause
the building in the same way we charge out youth programs, so it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I agree with the auditor, it doesn't really make sense
Yeah.
to have them that way.
Yeah, because essentially you would be almost having to charge our own programming rent to be in our space.
Right.
That's how you would reflect that instead of making,
Exactly.
and it just would open up a whole kind of weird situation if we didn't do
And
that.
when the auditor was talking about it, what I was getting out of it is that the youth, for some youth programs, might actually be in the SRC. So we're mixing up some of our costs and our ability to calculate exactly what each of those cost centers are costing us. So I'm just waiting for Mike to make a motion.
Yeah.
So
Did you get both questions answered?
I did. On here, my question for you guys, so there was a suggested motion here. Is the effective as soon as possible, or should it be effective at the fiscal year?
Well, I think from what I'm hearing is that we will combine the accounts. Maybe they won't be reflected that way until the budget for the 2024-2025 year, but that budget, to be honest, is going to start being prepared in the next 2 months by staff.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've already kind of, just in case it was worked out, you know, I started kind of making up GL codes, not in the system, but just on paper, just so we could get going on it, if you guys decided to go that way. So, yeah, as soon as possible, it wouldn't be an effect on this budget, but it would at least be input into the system so that we can do it for that budget process.
That's fine. I just want to make sure we're phrasing this the
Yeah.
correct way.
If we change the word possible to practicable, would that work for you?
Yeah. I just want this
They can
as,
pick the date.
yeah. So if somebody would like to, I can't do it.
Mike can't.
I'm waiting for Mike.
There's no
This
way I'm
was
gonna
my
make that motion, but Mike's been waiting all night.
No, I just thought it, but, I move that we combine the Broadway field and the SRC funds into the general fund of the district, effective as soon as possible.
Okay.
I second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
No, it should be Kyle.
No.
Thank you, Sue. All in favor, signify aye. Kyle.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Aye. It just means I'm gonna make you say it twice.
Well, what you're gonna have to do is start changing up the order.
I know.
I never know when.
I'm gonna make Jared move you over here. Okay, moving on. We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. she's
Trying to get out of here by 7.
Oh.
No way.
Recreational immunity changes. These not fast.
I don't know what else I need to say. I feel like this is one of the best memos. I mean, it's not the best topic that I've ever written, but I'm trying to just make sure the district knows that this is a pretty significant and unfortunate turn of events for recreation providers and for landowners. I don't think it's in the benefit. I'm sorry, I'm going to speak my opinion, and it may not be shared by the board. I don't think this is in the benefit of the Oregonians that love to recreate in the state and love to use available amenities, the natural lands, the trails, the resources that we have here. I think the district, SEPRD, is in a unusual spot because this doesn't necessarily impact us in the way it does a lot of our recreation provider friends and agencies, such as the city of Seaside, the city of Warrenton, the city of Cannon Beach, Plattsburgh County, state parks, and other agencies like the 3 that we're going to visit tomorrow. They all have an extensive trail system in their inventory. We don't have that, and so in some ways the harm that we might feel is minimized or reduced, but it's still impactful. And I think that anytime you take recreation opportunities away from the citizens, I don't think that's a great thing. I think we should try really hard to avoid doing that. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
So I'm guessing most of you know what recreational immunity is, or the topic, and I just tried to kind of introduce it a little bit and share. I think that there is going to be some harsher recommendations or maybe even requirements from SDAO coming down. I shared the 5 that they've already shared with us. I think there's 5 of them, 6. And luckily, luckily for us, but not luckily for our recreation counterparts, that we don't want them to have to close these things either. Not as many apply to us. I will say, met with our staff, and we're fortunate, again, because of the small outside inventory that we have. I mean, we're able to do property checks every day on the skate park, on Broadway Field, on the surrounding areas. And I think that is something that we'll be able to continue. But if we were to have more space, then there's no way that we would be able to do that. And there's no way we would be able to comply with the recommendation about having someone staff at an outdoor
At a trailhead.
amenity and
Yeah.
have them sign waivers. That's not, I mean, you can shift to an online system, but,
I know, like, the trail that they put up by the school, they have a QR code.
yeah, and that's a fine solution, but we also know, and there's good research to back it up, that we want to reduce barriers for participation in recreation opportunities. And so I need the board to think about their role in advocating as folks that are obviously interested in recreation and want people to be healthy and take advantage of the resources in our area. I think there will come a time, it may not be right now, but it will come soon when this is going to be debated at the legislative level, and we may need advocacy from everyone in the state to make sure that there's space for people to recreate and that recreation providers have some level of protection, provided that space has been, reasonably maintained and taken care of.
So what about the standard governmental immunity? That does not apply here?
Doesn't seem to apply for recreation spaces.
So wasn't there, didn't the legislature pass a law back in the 2010s back in there that caused this whole thing to blow up? I remember there being some discussions.
Yeah,
about immunity back then.
I think probably what I remember in reading about this is that there's been a few cases, not legislatively decided, but decided in the courts where folks were hurt snowboarding, skiing on mountain activities, and those dramatically changed the ruling of those dramatically changed how landowners that provided space for mountain activities, winter mountain activities, were able, what they were able to do, because their insurance costs went up significantly. Some of them reported doubled or tripled, having to double or triple their lift pass rates because their insurance provider wouldn't cover them anymore, because just the natural.
And how well do those waivers or notices, you see out on the beach, no lifeguard on duty, that's a warning sign that tells you that you're now responsible for your own behavior. So is there some kind of a warning sign that we can?
They would have to read the sign.
They'd have to be able to read the language that the sign was written in, and, there's all sorts of variables, but what can we do to mitigate the risk? That's
Yeah, I think it's those regular inspections, but honestly, I struggle to come up with a world where all of the risk is going to be mitigated, right?
Even if you have more insurance.
There's natural, natural and unnatural things that can injure you in anytime you move, right? Or just sitting, right?
Yep.
One of the things you pointed out was like the skate park, which I think that is a huge risk, right? And you're hoping that people wear their helmets, and you're hoping that they wear their protective knee pads, arm pads, all that. But is it worth not having a skate park to remove that risk of those people hurting themselves and taking on that responsibility on,
But, so if you have a motorcycle track,
yeah,
you are responsible for everybody's crash? It breaks my heart that, we're causing people potentially to not participate in recreation.
Well, yeah, I think there is some protection still afforded in the case law for folks that are actually recreating in a recreation space. But seems like it's shifting dramatically with this Newport case, is that if you're using a trail to get as transportation, like this person in Newport was using a beach trail to get from the parking lot to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they weren't recreating on the trail. They were using it as transportation to get to the beach, which is where they were recreating, and that's why they won. And so I know we're splitting hairs maybe, but it comes down to the intent of the user in some cases. And so I think that's important for us to consider too, especially as we're really pushing over the last few years to make this a campus feel and have people moving between the buildings to do recreation and community things, from this building to the Mary Lake to the pool to the SRC. You know, and we have a lot of that kind of coming and going.
I don't know, I just don't get where a trail is transportation. It's a byway, it's an access point, but it's like, where does the transportation come in? Are they pulling a wagon? Are they riding a bicycle? That's the transportation. They're 2 feet of their transportation, so I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I'm in favor of, I thought this recreational access thing was really a done deal already. Because I remember discussing it at SDAO and getting the presentations from the lobbyist, you know, who works on these things. And I just can't believe that it's not resolved yet. But I think it's more important to the city and the county than it is to us necessarily. We're all on public property. I don't think, we don't do anything unless we take our kids into the woods. Maybe at the mill ponds, maybe there's a problem there accessing it through a restaurant, you know, through a private venue like that. Maybe Ruby's may be liable, you know, because they're the ones providing most of the parking for the mill ponds. And I don't know, it's something that needs to be resolved.
Well, it needs to be resolved in the legislature.
Well,
I think that's it's not gonna be resolved at the insurance companies.
No.
So, I mean, my thoughts are, ORPA has got to be the lead agency.
Yeah, we're working with our legislator.
And whatever we can do, local legislators or whatever, to get a bill ready for when the session starts in, I don't know, February, and then have to drop the bills, right?
Yep.
So, I would encourage us to pursue legislative changes if we can.
And what I noticed was things that I did with my children as they were starting to get a little older. There was much more contractual paperwork that, like, you know, I said, wow, so I'm just signing up that if we die, it's okay with you. You know, I mean, because literally it was that kind of detail. And we're talking about a horseback ride.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Laura bungee jumping. It was like all these things were, we're not responsible, we're not responsible, we're not responsible. And I said, we're gonna do this activity. We're not leaving. But it was, I said, it's too bad that it's come to that much fear.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't sign it, you don't go. Okay, well, we'll sign it. And off we go. And look, we all live to talk about it. But it just feels like everything has turned into a litigious issue. And it's unfortunate.
Well, what's unfortunate is, you know how many times I've injured myself participating in recreational activities and I never knew?
You didn't sue over it?
No, not once.
You missed your
You didn't sue McDonald's over hot water?
No, I got all the
I've even been injured at times where I was like, I'm pretty sure somebody should have, like, I shouldn't have been injured in this way. I'm like, maybe I should, like, I don't think I should sue them. I think I should talk to somebody and make sure, like, this doesn't happen to
Nobody else
someone
gets
else.
hurt. Right.
Because this seems like a very natural way that I got hurt. And sometimes I have. But, yeah, I mean, this changes a lot of stuff. So
But that's
anyways,
not the American dream.
to get hurt?
No, to not sue.
Yeah. You're in those moments, you're in a lot of pain. I'm not thinking about financially. I'm usually thinking about my leg or my ankle or whatever. It just...
And whether to classify this trip as transportation or recreation.
If I can advocate for me that, yes, in perhaps January or February, let's be prepared to support a legislative action.
Yeah.
That
We can
will
start
hopefully
writing.
right this, but the legislative action and the court, I mean,
Yeah.
legislative action and the court thing are not running,
Parallel.
yeah, they're not working together either. So the legislative stuff may say this, and the court may over here be kind of.
And it's the Supreme Court decision.
This is the Oregon Supreme
It's
Court.
fine.
Yeah. They basically said that they weren't going to hear the appeal, so that's concerning.
Well, if you're going to, if there's going to be a legislative action, I will be happy to participate in that.
Actually, I should just throw out that we have a regional leader in the League of Oregon Cities, Henry Ballasper, Mayor of Warrenton, has been elected the head of the League of Oregon Cities. And he is a sharp guy, and Warrenton's lucky to have him. But, I think if we get together with our legislators and our local people, I think Mayor Wright would support this.
The AOC, Association of Oregon Counties, and League of Cities, and SBAO.
Yep. They're all.
And ORPA all get together. I mean, who's going to be on the other side?
Yeah, lawyers.
Defense attorneys, probably, or plaintiff's attorney.
I'm gonna find out what the county is gonna do with this.
Might be, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
your show still.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go fast. So for shutdown, I shared an update, but really just want to call out publicly our great maintenance team and the others that helped with them. We had some aquatic staff that helped and worked. We had some full-time staff that pitched in where needed, but we were able to get the units installed for the HVAC system over the lobby and men's and women's locker room, so that's been a nice improvement. The air quality is better. Airflow is a little better. We'll be able to control. We've never had a problem heating those units. It's always pretty warm in the locker rooms especially, but keeping them cool and keeping the air moving was something that had been a challenge. In addition to their other tasks of deep cleaning and doing servicing and preparing for the diving blocks, which we still haven't received, but they did remove the old ones and prepared for the new ones. We also had the SRC boiler go out during shutdown, so Levi and Courtney spent a couple of days repairing that boiler, but that's now firing, and we have heat in the SRC. It's not a perfect heating system, as you might imagine if you've seen the boiler, but we've been able to at least improve the conditions for our renters and for our internal programs. So anyways, just want to publicly thank our maintenance team. It's a long 2-week time for them for shutdown.
You copied this on a contract with Diamond Heating?
Yeah, one of the things that we found as we were preparing to reopen the pool is that the heating system in the natatorium had some, the coil had some burnout in the coil, and so it was past warranty. It's about 4 years old, so we made the decision to replace the system, so about $8,000 more than trying to repair it, but it'll be under warranty for 2 years. And, we haven't received the new system yet. It's supposed to probably be here in the next week or two.
Is your budget okay for that?
Yeah, we had enough in kind of the rainy day fund for this type of thing. So that particular unit, if we don't keep the heat on in the pool, then we can't really keep the pool open. The natatorium has to be maintained at a certain temperature or above, or else, the balances and the chemicals and everything, it's all wrong. So that's pretty tight. I linked this video. We're not necessarily featured in the video, but you all know that we got a $90,000 grant from NRPA to create a community wellness hub, and we've utilized a good part of those grant funds already. I want to thank Darren and Justin for their help, especially. Darren's really managed the grant from the NRPA end, including attending lots of the meetings and filling out lots of paperwork and things. We are really close to kicking off our cooking classes at the SRC. I think that's one of the things that will probably wait until we have that a little more occupancy clearance. But that's a big part of our program. Anyways, the video is really cool. It shows some of the other, I think there's 12 maybe other communities that got the grant. And it shows some of what they're doing in their communities as well. The communities are all over the country and range in size and what they wanted to do, how they administered the grant. I think it's well worth a few minutes of your time. You'll see I updated our district goals. Again, I feel like most of the heavier stuff we've already talked about, but I think we've made substantial progress on most of these at this point now. As we get near the end of the year, I would love to, again, learn more from the board about what they want to do with systems development charges, if they want to bring Doug back, if we should explore a workshop to learn more about those, if that's something that we want to pursue. I think the time, I've done this a couple times, and Mike's done it a few times. We learn about it, and we get kind of smarter, and then we let it wait. And I know for me, I get dumber if I wait too long, and then I have to go back and relearn it. And so I'd rather not have to do that in 6 months or a year again. If we're going to do it, I think we should. If we're going to pursue it, I think we should pursue now with some intention, and not wait too many months until, like I said, we've lost some of the conviction that we had, or some of the good information that we got from Doug in that presentation. As far as special events, I do want to kind of, again, Zoe was here, she bailed, and I don't blame her. It's been a day for her, but a few things. Kyle and I, as well as Haley, our HR and admin coordinator, all attended the ORPA conference. I really appreciate Kyle being there, and he was at breakfast every morning at 7:30 or 8, and he was always at all the sessions. I mean, we doubled up at a lot of sessions because we had similar interests, but I appreciate that. As you know, at that conference, I started my 1-year service as ORPA president, so that's been good, some extra responsibilities, but nothing too crazy so far. And would encourage you all to make plans to come to our next ORPA conference next October in Sun River. If you want, that is when I will get the booth, unless it's before then. We had an awesome day last Thursday. Really grateful to be part of this awesome community, and Zoe didn't. She probably wanted to talk about turkey trot, but that's our biggest turkey trot ever, 320 participants.
So, one of the things about Zoe, I saw her a few days before that event. She's like, are you coming? Are you coming? I was like, yeah, we'll be there. We just haven't signed up yet. And she's like, I got to beat my goal. I got to beat my pre-registration goal. She was like, I only need 8 more to beat it. Like, okay. She is so competitive with her stuff. So she's already told me, how many, it was like 300 something?
We ordered 300 shirts and 300 ribbons, and we ran out. We had 320 participants.
Yeah. So she's, next year I'm going for 500.
I mean, the whole event has been completely transformed through Zoe and Justin, and Melissa helped really start this too when she was here. To be able to move the start and finish location to the SRC has been so nice, because we previously were meeting outside at Quartet Park, and it was either cold or it was rainy and windy. And now to have an indoor location with restrooms and people can gather. I mean, the weather was perfect on Thursday. It was chilly, but perfect. And we've redone the route, and I think it's honestly as cool of a route as you could ask for in a 5K, to run down Broadway, to get the highway stopped so you can walk or run across Highway 101, and there's police cars there to guide you, and then you can spend the rest of the route, basically the whole rest of the route, on the prom. That's pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of places where you get to do that, so really grateful to Zoe and Justin and our maintenance team for helping do setup, and yeah, the event went great. We had about 225 that we served at the meal later that day, so we had about 125 in-person diners, and then took about 100 meals out. We had some people go out to the mill ponds and some of the other areas where we know we have transient, some of our transient population lives, or houseless population is, and that was great. Mike, appreciate you coming to volunteer for a while and being our greeter. It's a really crazy day, and I didn't have a voice, so I was super stressed out about how to get my instructions to people, but I had these two volunteers that work in the meal site here with Chris. They volunteered with Chris, and they knew how to do everything and put people in the right spots, and everything
looked great, I
went
really have
well.
to say, you had great people in the kitchen, the children, and working with mom and dad, and everyone was, milling around, and it
was really
was
special.
nice to see.
I mean, not much time on this, but as a reminder, we are not meeting in December, at least as of right now, and I think it sounds like if we are going to have a special meeting, it might be in January, and then our January meeting date is included, it's on the 23rd. There's lots of stuff going on before then. We have our Santa Swim, which I shared a little bit of our flyer, our ribbon flyer, on the 17th. 2 days before that, we have our all-staff holiday party, which you all will be invited to, and I'll share some more details about that electronically. It's a busy time of year still, even though we won't have a board meeting. There's still lots going on to get done. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Scarlett.
Welcome.
Board comment, Tyler, go.
First, congratulations, Skylar. It is a big deal to represent your state and your organization, and I'm glad I was there to get to see him sworn in, because that was awesome, so congratulations. And you'll be moving up the chairs at the national?
No.
Not so much. Yes, I did attend the ORPA event, and there were several presentations that were really, really awesome. But what I think the overarching feeling I got is that there are some recreation districts and cities around the state that have some really unbelievable talent working for them. But Skylar and I sat for breakfast with a grant writer from Palm Hills Park and Rec, just absolute genius. I mean, it was just really a pleasure to talk to her. And there's a gal in Newport that does the marketing.
Oh, Lincoln City.
Lincoln City. God, just really, really good. So thanks for the opportunity.
Lincoln City's doing some good things.
Yeah. And Daphne, you're awesome. Sorry you couldn't be here today to get your award.
She was doing yoga.
She was doing yoga. Marty, this is the second or maybe third time that we've heard some hand-wringing about security issues, especially at the pool. So I think it's fair to do a deep dive in that and make sure our security is up to snuff. And if somebody's willing to come forward time after time, I think we owe it to them to help them fix the problem. Staff and Rick for their audit work, that was really, really nice presentation. Appreciate that. And finally, two things. Zoe is awesome. This is really impressive stuff. But it's not just these programs, but Zoe oftentimes represents a district at the greeters, the
Good Morning Seaside.
Yeah, the Good Morning Seaside stuff, and she really does it, as you saw her presentation here, she does the same thing. So that is really awesome. And finally, I'd like to do a shout out to the Cookie Jar for all of the things that they're sponsoring and helping us with. And is that Marcus?
Yeah.
thank you, Marcus, and thank you, Cookie Jar, because that's
And
good stuff.
Anthony.
And Anthony,
Yeah.
I don't think I've met him, but I know.
Anthony technically the cookie jar.
Oh, Anthony's a Cookie Jar. Well, both of them, or whoever's responsible, thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, Sue, go.
Well, I can just kind of say ditto from Kyle, thank you. I did want to say congratulations to Skylar on that honor, and also, you know, on the just ongoing diligence and vigilance of the hard work. And I applaud what you do, thank you. And that I applaud the team that you have working underneath you that works to make you look good, and that's because we do good things. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for Rick. I know last year, oh my gosh, you know, what a difference a year makes when, you know, the report had some issues for me that I just drilled him. And then what I saw was a turnaround so quickly that still impresses me. And I didn't see any of that this time, and I'm grateful for him willing to be receptive and to listen. And I thank him for the report, and I thank him for diligently showing the community that we still have a clean audit, and that people can trust us to take care of the resources at their, you know, that they question, and know that we are listening and we are receptive, and they are in good hands. And the programs that we put forth, honest to God, Zoe, I miss her as an instructor, but I know she stepped up when Melissa had to leave, and she's just blossomed into, you know, this Energizer Bunny of programs, and I appreciate it. And I do take advantage of the walking program, which was one of my goals of us having SRC, so I'm glad to see that coming back as of today. I want to approach Marty again. I wish she'd stayed. I know in the board comment last time, I think her concern is legitimate, and I am simply echoing that we need to make sure that she knows that she comes to a safe environment to swim, and that we make sure her complaint is considered a gift so that we can fix it. And again, reminding Marty, and if she's listening, we cannot comment during your time of speech. So our silence is not deaf ears. It is simply us complying. And I'm the one that went out of compliance once when I interacted with her, and I know we fixed it, but I was mortified that I did something wrong. And so we are not allowed publicly to comment during her speech. So please understand the lack of response is a legal maneuver, not something that we're doing just because we're waiting for you to finish. And if there is any concept of that, it's not shared by this board. And then I'm simply grateful. Let's see who else is left here. This turkey trot. I have to say, not being here after being involved with so many things recently, I told my son in Chicago, well, where are we going to go help people? And where's a pool? And I haven't. I said, no, I want a warm pool. Don't you have a warm pool in this city, this huge city of a major budget? A warm pool?
Well, there's a lake.
Yeah. You know, so I want I want to pat us on the back that what we have here, and we can always improve, but the point is we have something where we give to our community, and our community is receptive, and we are very fortunate to be here in this playground with a vision and mission statement that tells us to play, and we invite the public to come do that. And I think it's important in this time of giving and this time of appreciating what you have and the people you have around you, that you get to say thank you, and here's what you can do to recreate and to play in this area. And I'm grateful that we have this very good team of people that promote that every day.
Thanks, Sue. Mike?
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, I think, just want to say that I think the district has had a really good year. It's, we've had a lot of things going on, and I think we're making good progress. As far as Marty Weiss's complaint goes, it's the same complaint she made last month. So basically, she just read it on the record. We don't have to hear the same complaint month after month. But she was unhappy with Skylar's response, but she was happy with Daryl's response.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we just have to take that with a grain of salt. But I appreciate all the great work the staff has done, and, you know, and obviously the staff is a great team that works well together. Zoe is exemplary. She was one of the, when I started working for the district in 1999, I think, you know, she was working a lifeguard, and everyone, the office, you know, they'd be in the executive director's office sitting around in their bathing suits, you know, dripping wet, you know, wet furniture and typing and doing whatever they had to do. But she's a real
Sounds
trooper.
like someone I know.
She's a real trooper. I appreciate it. Thank you
I
very
have
much.
missed that, Skylar.
Thanks, Mike.
I would just like to say congratulations to Skylar. It's pretty, a reflection on our district that you were selected to be the president of the Oregon Recreation. So that's pretty awesome, and I appreciate, Kyle, that you were able to attend.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool
It
too.
was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It was a good event.
Yeah. Congratulations to Daphne. I'm sad that she wasn't here. I'm also sad that she's leaving the school district, so I won't see her. I am continually impressed at our district at having a clean audit process. I think that is such a reflection on you, Darren, and on Chris, and I appreciate all you guys do to keep us going and above board, and just, I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and every year it comes out, and we look good. Make us look good. Zoe, there's just not enough cool things to say about Zoe. She just wears so many hats. When I remember when she took this job, I was so devastated because she is my children's favorite, just hands down, period, youth program person. And for her to leave the aftercare program to do this, we were just like, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to see our Zoe? And she still manages to be impactful in, you know, our lives, my kids' lives. You know, she makes time for them, and yeah, everything she does is just, she puts her little Zoe spin on it. So we're so thankful to have her. A huge thank you to the maintenance department for a successful shutdown maintenance. I mean, things may not have gone perfectly, but do they ever? No. You know, still waiting on some diving blocks. They'll come eventually. You know, heating system, it'll happen soon. We're just chugging along. It's fine. But I appreciate our buildings look good. The upgrades, you know, it's always beneficial. You know, I disagree with Skylar saying that we haven't had heating issues in the locker rooms, particularly in the women's locker room. I remember running heaters in that space to keep it warm.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so.
I was for a very short time, but yes.
I'm just saying, I
was not
remember.
without its public
Yeah.
attention.
So you know, showing this investment in our buildings is important and part of just, you know, providing a good public service. And as for Marty, you know, she's been here twice. She sent multiple emails. I don't know what the process is for the front desk. I hope you guys can kind of draft a response and maybe revisit. And, you know, I think she has some valid concerns. I personally have walked in many a time. We do serve vulnerable populations. We have kids that are just running around. So, you know, she has very valid points. I do want to remind her, though, that the board members are volunteers, so in her remark that it took me longer to get back to her than you, because I don't check my email every single moment of the day. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a very merry, happy, safe holiday, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Merry Christmas, and
yeah.
don't forget to get your Christmas tree.
Meeting adjourned.
So we're all invited to Sandy's retirement
I
party.
didn't say